Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the first bi-weekly briefing presented to you by the Emergency Leadership Team. I'm Ruth Jackson, and I'm joined by my colleagues, Dean of Students, Mr. Joshua Busby, and our Vice President of Operations, Teresa Powell. In today's webinar, we will provide our regular COVID-19 status overview. We'll provide a review of our spring 2022 move-in experience. We'll review our notification protocol, provide an overview of our campus operational posture, share important dates. We'll have an opportunity for questions and answers during our discussion period. And as always, we'll end by reflecting on resilience. So Dean Busby, would you please provide our COVID-19 overview?
Absolutely. Thanks, Dr. Jackson. Good afternoon, everybody. Great to be with you on today. So we want to provide our status update for today for our total cases. And you see total cases in Oklahoma. Of course, this is since start of the pandemic is now a little over 914,000 cases across the state, 129,000, a little over 129,000 active cases, and a little over 13,000 deaths since the beginning of the pandemic. In Logan County, 8,779 total cases. Got an average 7-day case count last week of 144, and unfortunately, there's been 137 deaths. Currently on the Langston University campus, this is all three campuses and our Ardmore site, so Langston, Oklahoma City, and Tulsa, as well as our Ardmore site. We have 216 total cases. Only 8 of those are active. Of course, keep in mind that that 216 active case count is since July 1st of 2021. Moving on to our spring 2022 move-in review, very happy to announce that we had a great move-in for the spring. Also want to thank our students and our campus community for embracing the protocols and the procedures that were put in place. Of course, it was communicated to students beginning in November what that process and procedure would be for them to move in for the spring semester. And of course, that included that they had to be enrolled. They had to have a housing application on file. They had to have requested and made an appointment to move in. And lastly, they had to satisfy a pre-arrival testing result, proof of a negative test. That pre-arrival testing requirement required that students had to submit a proof of negative test 72 hours prior to their move-in date. If they submitted that outside of that window, they would have to have been administered another test and provide proof of another negative test before they moved in. The university did make provisions through our campus partner, Total Wellness, to offer a testing site off campus, and many of our students took advantage of that opportunity in order to satisfy that last and very critical requirement, which was for them to submit proof of a negative test. Of course, this effort was coordinated between the emergency leadership team and residential housing and residential life and housing services to ensure that students met that requirement. It's a very comprehensive process, and want to thank our housing team as well as the members of the emergency leadership team who lended their efforts to coordinate that. Also, there will be some ongoing testing requirements that will be required throughout the spring semester for any students that are residing in campus housing, and so more information will be coming out about that in order for us to continue to mitigate any risk of spreading on our campus. And so now I'll turn it over to Vice President Powell to talk through our notification protocol procedure, as well as to speak on our campus operational posture. Vice President Powell.
Thank you, Dean Busby, and good afternoon, everyone. Happy New Year, since we haven't seen you on a webinar. I'm glad you could join us today. We just really wanted to touch base with everyone on the notification protocol. It hasn't changed since we instituted it back in July of 2020, believe it or not. So we're still using an online form to collect and review and screen all of the notifications concerning exposure to COVID-19 and or a positive case of COVID-19. The university community has been great about complying with this. It allows us to collect data on where you've been on campus so that we can conduct thorough contact tracing with our health clinic staff. And that's been really valuable information for us to collect, and it's all done through the online form. The form is available on our COVID-19 resource page. It's linked there as a static link, so you can access it there anytime. And whenever you get emails from the ELT via the Office of Public Relations, we generally always link the notification form at the bottom of those emails. So you'll find it there as well. If you happen to need that link, just do a quick search in your email for an ELT webinar update or an update from the ELT. You should be able to find the link at the bottom of our emails. A QR code here for you to grab if you need it. We'll also, of course, be sharing this out via email and share the link again, just to refresh everyone's memory on the notification form. But we did want to make the QR code available on the webinar so that it is available for all and in the recording as well. I'm going to move on and talk a little bit about our campus operational posture. So some time ago, we instituted in June of 2021 a campus operational posture system whereby we notify the university community of the operational posture that we find ourselves in at any given time. These postures were designed to be flexible. They're designed to give everyone a framework by which we can know sort of what the operation of the university will be based on the campus level. So right now, we are still remaining in level 2, which we are expecting masks and face coverings to be worn indoors in public on all campus locations. That is really a good habit to practice regardless of where you are on campus. We're encouraging social distancing still on our campuses. We are going to, of course, as Dean Busby stated, continue our COVID-19 vaccination and testing resources and efforts that will be communicated to the university community when those opportunities are available on campus. And we're encouraging virtual meetings, encouraging everyone to use the resources provided through ITS and our team who's instituted that technology, the valuable technology for us there. If you can, especially if it's a larger group meeting, we do recommend if you're having a meeting specifically with people external to the university or from various locations that you try to do so and conduct those meetings virtually when possible. We are still going to continue limitation of indoor gatherings and try to do gatherings outdoors when possible or limit the capacities where it's appropriate. Outdoor activities and gatherings, of course, are going to be encouraged. Obviously, it's January in Oklahoma, so those are going to be somewhat limited, but we do encourage that when we can take an activity outside or outdoors or limit the capacity that we do so. And finally, we are for the virtual instruction period of these 2 weeks, we are offering a grab and go dining option to our students just to further mitigate the mingling of individuals within the cafeteria location. We're trying to minimize that as much as possible for these 2 weeks. And so we are offering the grab and go dining. And then at the appropriate time, we will shift to an in-person dining experience. As a reminder, you've seen this before, but this is just the framework as it's laid out in our Protect the Pride plan. So again, we're on campus level 2 at this time. So we are, of course, in our virtual instruction for these 2 weeks, which you see is our hybrid or flex model, and all of the things that we discussed in the previous slide, encouraging that virtual meetings are conducted when necessary and appropriate. We are, of course, going to monitor the campus case and transmission rate. We're going to be flexible as we've always been, and we're going to continue to really just keep a very close eye on the case count and be able to be nimble and shift when necessary. If that should happen or be necessary, we'll certainly notify the university community as appropriate. And now Dr. Jackson's going to share a little bit about our library hours in conjunction with our campus operations.
Thank you, VP Powell. Our library is operating on our temporary schedule at this point through the end of the virtual instruction period, which is this Friday, January 28th. The library hours are 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. Now, beginning next Monday, when we return to in-person instruction, our library hours will be Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. Monday through Thursday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And on Fridays, the library will open at 8 but close at 5. And Sunday hours are 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. As a reminder, as VP Powell mentioned in her section, masks and face coverings are expected when you're indoors, and that includes the library. For now, the Black Heritage Center, the Melvin B. Tolson Black Heritage Center, will be open only by appointment. And so if you would like to make an appointment, you just contact someone in the library. And I just want to take this opportunity to reiterate a valuable resource we have on campus, the Text a Librarian feature. You can use this feature by texting the number on the screen, 405-393-4348, or going to our university website and using the LU LibGuides and click the tab, Ask a Librarian. So be sure to take note of our library hours through Friday, and then the library hours that will begin on Monday, the 31st. I'd also like to review some important dates. As we know, classes started on January 18th. The registration period ended for people to add courses if they were only lasting for the first 8-week session on the 20th, and the deadline is today if someone wants to drop one of those classes. Today is also the deadline to add a course that's offered for the entire 16-week session, so please keep that in mind. Today is the last day to add courses for 16-week session classes. The last day to drop classes for the entire semester session is January 31st. That's next Monday. And so next Monday, we plan to return to our in-person classes for all first 8-week classes, as well as classes that run for the entirety of the semester. So with that, we'll pause and answer any questions that you may have. If you have questions, please drop them in the chat or feel free to use our Q&A session option. So a question about vaccinations. Are booster vaccinations available on campus? VP Powell, would you like to take that?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Yes, they are. We've been making the booster shots available on campus beginning last semester, and we'll continue to do that. They've been very popular, so we're happy that our partner Total Wellness is able to provide those to us. Generally, we have a very good supply of Moderna boosters, and we also have a limited supply of Pfizer boosters, and it really just boils down to what the health department is able to provide. But we have been consistently able to provide both shots. So proud to say that as of the end of last semester, we've given 290 doses of the vaccine. So really good, really great question. Thank you for that question. And we'll continue to provide those to the university community.
Thank you. We have a question about social distancing in a full classroom? How can we social distance in a full classroom? So as I mentioned, our intention is to return to in-person instruction on next Monday. Certainly, these classrooms will not have the 3 feet between each individual. However, our means of trying to mitigate this is to continue to expect masks and face coverings. The CDC guidance has always been to make sure that you're wearing masks and face coverings when social distancing isn't available. And so we want to make sure that we continue that practice and that we're all vigilant and consistent in our wearing of masks and face coverings whenever we're inside, especially within classrooms. So it looks like we have another question about vaccinations. Is the booster documentation required to be uploaded for employees?
Great question. As of now, that answer is no, it is not required. And just as a reminder to everyone at this point in time, the requirement from the federal government has been suspended. There was an injunction that was sent down to us from the legislation. I believe it was in December, and it was suspended. We sent out some messaging about that. So it was very, very late in the month. And we will continue to monitor that. If and when the requirement is reinstated, then we will let everyone know. But we certainly do encourage that those who are able to continue to upload their documentation to MedProctor, but booster shot, that's not part of the requirement as of right now. Thank you for the question.
Okay. We don't seem to have any additional questions in our Q&A feature or in the chat, but I would like to remind you that if you do have any questions to come up, please feel free to email luelt@langston.edu. This webinar will be recorded and shared following the conclusion of today's session. So feel free to review this one or any previous webinars that we have had. We actually do have one more question about vaccinations, VP Powell. How are appointments made for boosters?
Yeah, great question. So our protocol for vaccinations is that an individual who is interested in receiving a vaccination on campus must first be tested for COVID-19. So it's one appointment and it gets you 2 opportunities. So you'll test first, make sure that you are negative for the virus. And then after your test, get those results in about 15 minutes. Then you will move on to receive your vaccination. So the one appointment allows you to get both tested and get vaccinated. That is done through a link that we share weekly from university email through the Office of Public Relations. So look for that. It typically goes out around noon on Tuesdays, and the cadence of our testing has been every Wednesday, weekly on Wednesdays. And we plan to begin that next week. So not this Wednesday, but the following Wednesday is when we intend to begin that. So look for that email, follow the link, and then make an appointment there online. And again, that will give you an appointment for testing. It will also, the same appointment will serve as your appointment for vaccination.
Thank you. Thank you. So that you actually answered our last question, VP Powell, about when the COVID testing will resume on campus. So thanks for that. As always, monitor your email for important information. So with that, I will pass it over to Dean Busby, who will provide this webinar's reflecting on resilience. Dean?
Thanks, Dr. Jackson. Looks like I had some unstable connection. Can you all still hear me? Thumbs up real quick. Okay, great. And so as we reflect on resilience, I do want to acknowledge our residential life and housing services team, as well as HES facilities. But before I get to the dynamic work that they did, I also want to acknowledge our teams from the University College, the Office of Financial Aid, the Office of Admissions, Recruitment and Outreach, our faculty advisors, Student and Employee Services, the Office of the Registrar, for the work that they did to assist us as well, to get our students enrolled, to get everything taken care of for them. I think I said Student and Employee Services as well, to get them enrolled to the point that they could meet the requirements that were needed in order for them to move in. And so definitely want to acknowledge the work of all of those teams. So thank you to all of the team members who were here over the course of last week and the week before, to get them taken care of as well, to get our students taken care of. And then, of course, again, our team in Residential Life and Housing Services for the tremendous work that they did in partnership with HES facilities to ensure that the spaces that our students moved back into were ready for them to move in. A lot of work went into that, a lot of preparation. And so we're excited and we're thankful for the work and the dedication that those teams put in around the clock to ensure that our spring move-in experience was a dynamic one. And so again, want to thank our team from Residential Life and Housing Services, HES Facilities Management, but then also Enrollment Management, Financial Aid, Admissions and Recruitment, our faculty advisors, the University College, Student and Employee Services, as well as the Office of the Registrar, because it really was a team effort in order to make this experience a great one. So I want to thank all of you for your work. And at this time, I'll turn it back over to Dr. Jackson to close us out.
Thank you, Dean. So with that, we ask that you monitor your emails and look for information about our next webinar. And we hope that you have a wonderful week. And until we meet again, take care, Lions.